All right. Well, thank you so much. Welcome to the alumni event for Career Week. We're halfway through Career Week and very thrilled about all the events that we've had. I do want to just have a bit of housekeeping. You did receive surveys that we'd ask that you complete and put in to the bin that's in the hall. Also, if you didn't get a passport or didn't get your passport stamped, we want to make sure that you do that. The Career Design Lab has really been going through quite a bit of reimagination and how we can effectively engage with students and alumni. And this passport really helps you to understand your journey and have a visual kind of clue of the things that you should be doing and engaging with the Career Design Lab and how to do that. So if you don't have a passport, make sure you pick one up for yourself. So this evening, we are also doing a live stream through Facebook Live, so welcome all those who are with us. So more than a networking event, and I'm glad that you were able to do a little mingling before, we have a fabulous panel. The panel's going to engage you in kind of a deep dive discussion of tried and true practices of organic and virtual networking. Information gathered from those that participation can then be implemented. So I want you to have a bit of a takeaway and be able to implement something that you hear from the panel tonight, because they are truly great networkers. So I'm going to introduce Amanda Nilsson, who is the Director of Alumni Relation and the moderator for this panel. Let's give her a big hand and welcome the panel.
Thank you, Diane. And thank you, everyone here tonight. It's not like it's Valentine's Day or anything, but thank you to the students, the alumni here, to the staff. I know we have some faculty here as well. And thank you to our fabulous alumni panelists here this evening. So as Diane said, we are so excited for Career Week. This is a week-long programming. I know many of you have come to some of the other events the past couple days, are going to more. Can we just give a big round of applause to our amazing Career Design Lab team for everything they've done? So, as Diane said, this is going to be a fun event, and we are going to have networking after this panel discussion. So we want to make sure that you have a chance to ask questions after we do go through some of the dialogue that we have here tonight. And so after our panel concludes, we'll have about a 15-minute Q&A session. And we'll have staff members who will have the microphones. And so I'll just point to you as we go through those questions. So think about what were the topics, anything that we're not covering. Again, these are some great alumni, and I'll introduce them just momentarily. But I think, for this event in particular, joining people, not organizations, it's something that I reflect on myself. As the Director of Alumni Relations, I came to this school because of the relationship that I had with Dean Jason Wingard. He and I met when we both worked at the Wharton Business School, and he was a lot more senior than me, but I knew he was somebody that if I had a chance to work with, I was going to follow him, and I knew he was going to go do great things. So I myself am here because of that organic networking, and because I joined a person, not an organization, and it's really, really powerful. So first, I'd like to introduce Felicia, who is one of our sports management alumna, is at Madison Square Garden. And all of these alumni here tonight are serving in volunteer leadership roles at the school. So in addition to being here tonight, being experts in networking, they're also some of your volunteer alumni leaders, which is fantastic to have them here. We have Shaun Hoyte, who is at Edison and is a sustainability management alumni. And then Palisoul, who's one of our nonprofit management alumna and really is a powerhouse networker. And as Diane said, we welcome our live stream audience, and we'll be using this content across a couple of other platforms for those people who weren't able to come tonight. And we really do want you to think about what they're saying and then implement it in this networking session afterwards. So, why don't you start it off, Felicia, with telling us a little bit more about your role and maybe a tidbit that we could to think about to start this discussion.
Sure. So I'm Felicia Ganthier. I work for Madison Square Garden Company. I'm assigned to the New York Rangers. My current role is Manager of Business Operations, which when it was presented to me, it was described as being duct tape, or the personification of other duties as assigned for the New York Rangers. This is my 4th season with the Rangers. I've had a few different roles with the team. I started out in community relations, where I focused on some of our education platforms, and I worked primarily with our alumni. I moved into alumni and player relations, and then transitioned to this business operations role. I guess a tidbit. Fun fact, I'm actually a dinosaur with this stuff, and I prefer the old school way. I am judging if I don't get a thank you note, and if I get a handwritten thank you note, that's extra points for whomever I'm connecting with. So in this digital age, it's a little interesting to navigate that, but I would say that is my fun fact.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shaun Hoyte, and as Amanda mentioned, I work for Edison. I'm a graduate of the Sustainability Management Program, and I'll start off with the interesting tidbit. I started Edison 11 years ago, February 12th, 2007. So I just reached my 11-year anniversary, and I didn't think I would make it this far. Point being, I was working in the field, building traditional infrastructure, and it wasn't the work that was bad. It was where the work that was bad. It was freezing cold in February of 2007. Every day I went home, I wanted to quit my job. But something told me that I needed to do better. I needed to focus. I needed to strive to make it through that, and I did. And where did I land? I landed here on this panel because I was able to learn at Edison the infrastructure, how to build the distributed system, the world of energy. And then I found Columbia University Sustainability Management Program, where now I'm on the other end of the spectrum. So now, instead of building traditional infrastructure, I'm able to defer the build of traditional infrastructure, which is better for the environment, it's cleaner, it's more resilient, and it's better for the customers. So that's my tidbit. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hi, good evening. My name is Palisoul. I am an alum of the Nonprofit Management Program. Let me start off by saying what an honor it is to be here with all of you this evening. And I want to thank Amanda and Hassan, and also the Career Week staff members and all the faculty that's been involved in all of this, building this week, and specifically to benefit us and the Columbia community. It's tough following Shaun. It's been a wonderful experience working with Amanda, as well as the members of the advisory council at SPS under the alumni director. And something about myself, I've been involved with a lot of different nonprofits. That's part of the reason why decided to attend Columbia's nonprofit management program. I am a Navy veteran and very passionate about the military families and now transitioning service members. Currently, I work for the National Futures Association, so we are a self-regulatory organization. As some of you might know, since the 2007-2009 downfall of our economy, our leadership within Congress signed into office the Dodd-Frank Act, and part of my day-to-day is to enforce the compliance programs within Dodd-Frank Act. Really, I would say important for the market. I learned a lot of great things, and being in this role for the past 3 years has been a wonderful experience. Prior to joining NFA, I was at a retirement fund, and my experience there was also very, I would say, beneficial to learning about the financial sector. And I got into that role specifically because a friend of mine who is also a Navy veteran pointed me to the HR person and said, she has a lot of experience coming from the military, having served 8 years in both active and reserve, and you guys should give her a shot. And I was fortunate enough to have somebody like that mentor me, and that's how I got started. So moving forward, I'll give this back to Amanda.
So Juan just kicked it off. Today's students and alumni are joining people, not organizations, She just talked about what it meant to her and her experience. I have to say, everyone up here is pretty authentic, and that really matters. And you'll get very honest answers from all of us. And we hope it's helpful. So, Shaun, what does it mean to you, joining people, not organizations?
Well, when I was invited on this panel, I was thinking about that same thing when I'm presented with the title. So joining people, not organizations. You kind of want to join an organization that you believe in, and it starts with the people that are there. So if you don't have a good culture or a good environment, that's probably not someplace you should be. I was recently speaking with some of my colleagues, and we were mentoring high school students, and they're thinking about what's next for them, whether they go straight into work or if they go to school, et cetera. And the topic of friendship came up. And where I'm going with this is that you don't want to have friends or people around you where you feel like you have to hide it from anybody. So the concept of joining people, you want to be around like-minded people and then build up that organization to the point where they could recruit more like-minded people like yourself. So I think that joining people, not organizations, is kind of like embracing the person you are and then navigating to find people that are just like you, and then having all those people in the same organization to kind of help everything be better.
Felicia, what do you think?
From a tactical standpoint, I would say, especially in the sports world, we spend a lot of time together. They are long hours. They are often early hours. So you see each other in interesting states. And you have to like the people that you work with, especially with the type of work that we do. Occasionally it is labor intensive. You're out in the elements, and it tests you and it puts you in situations where you have to, you might not always be your best self, but you have to care about the person that's next to you and like them, and you want to make sure that it's a team environment. You're going to support the other people that are with you. Also, just knowing and playing to each other's strengths. Like, I know that one of my team members is always going to make sure that we think about what could happen on the negative side so that we don't get too carried away with this is going to be awesome, and then something happens and we're not prepared for it. So for me, that's where I immediately thought of when that question was posed.
So what about networking styles? We've heard a lot about organic networking. So maybe you could speak a little bit to this. Juan, why don't you start? Why is it important when customizing your own networking strategy?
So organic networking is, I would say, in its name, fairly important because you don't want to come off as somebody who is not real, right? You want to make a good impression, but also set really a clear expectation of who you are so that when you network, you're seeing people and meeting people who are going to like you, and you continue to build on those relationships. Part of, I would say, being authentic self is very important, and no matter where you go and, what country or what level you climb, you're going to see that there will be people you're naturally gravitating towards and people who are willing to bring you up the ranks, and, those are the individuals that you want to work with on a day-to-day basis. So I think being true to self and being organic as you present yourself is very important.
If I could intervene on your comment. I thought I was being as organic as I could have been. I was trying to network with this, I don't want to give away who they are, but this male or female had a high-ranking sustainability position in one of the cities in America. And I introduced myself. Hello, my name is Shaun Hoyte. I did this, I did that. I graduated from Columbia Sustainability, thinking the person would think it's amazing. The person turned around and told me, "You're probably more qualified for my job than I am," and walked away. To Juan's point, you want to be authentic and gravitate towards those people, but also kind of empathize with them. They are humans, so not necessarily their title. Don't play on that if you're interested in the same field, right? Because you may scare them off thinking that you want their job.
And then also, I am definitely a self-proclaimed introvert, so these things freak me out. Like, guarantee after tonight, I will probably go home and be quiet for a very long time. and I've struggled with networking being an introvert, but I found that there are strengths in that we tend to gravitate to more authentic and meaningful relationships, and they're deeper and they're smaller with people, and that's been a key to my success. Just knowing who to call when I have a question or I need some guidance for something, or I need to bounce some ideas off, and then also being available to help them out. That's been super helpful for me as well. It's just being the person that's always down to help. If you have a question or you need something, I got it. Or if I don't know it, I probably know someone that can help you, and making those connections. So I would say for the introverts, don't fear, you can still do this.
And I think, that reciprocity is really important, and an important part of being authentic with organic networking is it's not just one-sided. And so that's something that's definitely a theme that I'm hearing from how you guys are talking about your own personal networking experiences. So, as alumni leaders, I'm interested in hearing about how you've used peer-to-peer networking to transition career roles or to rethink your developmental challenges. We know here at the School of Professional Studies that a lot of people come here as career pivoters. So let's talk about that a little bit. Shaun, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. So I came from the field. I was a blue-collar worker at Edison, and my career path was set for me. So I started off as a general utility worker. They put me through a curriculum where I could advance to mechanic B and then a mechanic A, which is the top for my field at the time. Midway through my degree at Columbia, I transitioned into a management role, where is what I'm doing right now. But there wasn't a set path to move forward, right? So by the time I was good at what I was doing, I became a subject matter expert. I relied on my peers to kind of guide me towards that progression. I mean, do I post out of this department? Do I stay in this department? What role should I be looking for without offending my director or my manager? I consulted with my manager as well. And I feel like the peer-to-peer support, people that have jumped from organization to organization or within the company and have been successful, it's pretty much what you need to do in order to be successful. You can't always rely on your own thoughts and thinking that you have all the answers. So I think my peer-to-peer counsel has been beneficial to the point that I'm advancing in my career currently, and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Great. Juan, how about you?
Well, I started my story about really relying on a friend and building on the peer-to-peer. I think Columbia actually has changed my life, not only from a professional perspective, but also from a personal perspective. It was at Columbia where I met a couple of different individuals who also serve in the military, and building on that relationship and with them being involved with various different organizations and also being involved with campaigns, they brought me on to help with really crafting the military and veterans policies on the federal level. And having, really just been a part of that community and working with individuals who I never thought I would meet, it's something that I would say it's been life-changing. And this is something that is really building on that peer-to-peer relationship. And it's oftentimes when you ask somebody for something, for assistance, you find out who your true friends are. I would say that if you work every day being authentic to yourself and building a relationship because you truly care about them, and having the opportunity to give back when there is that moment, that's really how you maintain some of these relationships. And my personal story is that I've been in the military and having served, 8 years and coming out of the military and having to transition to civilian life. And that's not easy for everybody. I think I've had a better experience because of some of the relationship I have built over the years. And, not a lot of veterans, I'm sure some of you have heard that, there's a lot of struggles for some of the individuals. And, we're trying to build a community really to teach them how to network and building on these kind of peer-to-peer relationships so that they can continue to serve in a civilian capacity and be successful in life as professionals. So I think part of being here today is really just echoing some of the things that I've learned from other individuals and leveraging that peer-to-peer relationship. It's very beneficial, but you gotta work hard to build it.
Yeah. having Columbia on your resume is great, but it's not where it stops. Every full-time job I've gotten since I've moved to New York has been because I know someone. I started the program when I was an employee of the university. I spent 4 years with the athletic department doing development and alumni relations, and then I spent 3 years at the business school doing corporate and foundation relations. I knew I wanted to go back to sports, and I wasn't sure like how to do it or what to do. As a joiner, which is very strange for an introvert, I haven't met a club that I didn't like. So I'm a member of an organization called WISE, which is Women in Sports and Events. When I saw the position open at the Rangers in Community Relations, I worked on a committee with another young lady in WISE, and who's also in my sorority, and I saw the position, and I was like, hey, what do you think about this? You know, here's my resume. Do you think it's a good fit? I just wanted to know your thoughts, because I know you worked in the department, whoop, whoop, whoop. That's what got my resume to the top of the pile and got me at least in the door and was able to have a conversation, because with transitioning, especially going from the collegiate world or academia to the professional world, people weren't seeing the connection. They weren't understanding, how does this person from college that has all this college experience in development and alumni relations, how does this fundraiser go into doing anything with a professional sports team? So to be able to get in front of people to actually say, no, same skills, totally transferable, here's what I can do for you, it's been helpful. So I would definitely say make sure that you join things, participate in organizations, find your professional groups that will, or your organizations, especially for the women in the groups. Like, these are the people that are going to help you get in and get a foot in and at least get you a look.
And I think that's great feedback, and something that is really important in the work of alumni relations here at the School of Professional Studies and at Columbia University. Optimize that network. As students, you're all here because you're eager, you're hungry, and you want to connect with the broader community. So, you know, congratulations to you for coming tonight. And as they've said, it takes work, and so being here is really the first indicator towards your success. So this actually dovetails really nicely into a question beyond peer-to-peer networking, into short and long-term success around building your own personal board of directors. I think all of you here who have participated in any career management programming have heard this frame before. But how important are enablers, promoters, and points of reference in addition to mentors? This is something that's important at the School of Professional Studies. So talk to us a little bit about your experience in those areas. Want to start, Juan?
Sure. So mentors, I have many. Just been very fortunate to work with some fantastic, amazing people. I would say that depending on my strategy, depending on what area or industry that I'm focused on, I try to get one or two mentors who are really just experts in that field. So if I need somebody who is really well-versed in the nonprofit world, I know a couple of people that I can just ask, for guidance and advice in terms of like fundraising or running an organization. And I sit on a couple of different nonprofit boards for the veteran space, and then also New Leaders Council, which is a national organization focusing on really just youth and progressive values. So there are a wide variety of individuals who are really just expert in their field, and you want to build that strategy and also work with them directly to see where you fit and understanding your own personal branding. So I'm a veteran, that's my brand. I'm also a woman, and I'm also Asian. So there are sort of the obvious things, like when you look at me, you can see that I'm Asian and I'm a woman, but I'm also a veteran. It's something that if I don't tell you, or if it's not written somewhere, you probably wouldn't know. So in that sense, understanding your own brand and where you need, either mentors or somebody to help, sort of help you craft your strategy and how you pivot in industry, it's really up to your own personal initiative and making sure that you find the right people. And sometimes you might have mentors who are not as invested in you as you would like them to be. But again, it's just really keep working those relationships.
Yeah, I think that having a board of directors, your own personal board of directors, is fantastic. I just had our associate general counsel come to me and offered to be on one of my board of directors. And
What's the tenure? How do you get onto that?
I mean, I was taken back. I was like, well, of course, thank you. He told me that he's had so many different experiences. One was he lost $1 million. One was he gained $1 million for a client. I mean, it ranges in different areas, but I think that just having that confidence behind you to know that you don't necessarily have to make the mistakes yourself, to learn from somebody else's mistakes is an invaluable asset, and as well as having a mentor. I have several mentors as well, and I think when it comes to mentoring, it should be a two-way street. I think that it's like the communication that you could have with your mentor is something that you don't have with anybody else, and something that there's something to gain on both ends. I mean, whether you're the mentee or the mentor, I think that the learning experience should be something that is invaluable as well. And I think every leader should have a host of mentors and their own board of directors if they want to continue to be successful and really make changes that are valuable in this world.
Yeah. I look to my board for balance. Like, for instance, I recently had my mid-year review, and I got some feedback that I didn't know what to do with it. And I need someone to help me work through that and find the lesson and find the beauty in this feedback and what I can use and take to grow from it. Sometimes I make mistakes and I get really down on myself because I hold myself to such a high standard that it's perfection, and I need to work on that, I know. But I need someone to come in and say, this is fine, to bring me back up. I also need people to tell me when there's something that is within my reach and I shouldn't doubt myself, and to go ahead and go for it. Bess Brodsky, who was with our career development group, is an amazing cheerleader. I go to her for everything, especially in those moments where I'm not sure I can do it. And when you talk to Bess, you leave and you're just ready to take on the world. And that's been truly, truly helpful. And also it's been helpful to surround myself with people who are different, but also people who understand, because sometimes the reality is I work in hockey, and there aren't a lot of people that look like me in hockey. And I need people that understand my struggle, or understand what it feels like, or understand the pressure that comes with that when you realize that you might be the only one when you walk into a room, and not everyone understands what that feels like. So I would just say, keep your board diverse, help you get balance. So whether it's someone that needs to check you and tell you that you're wilding with this one, and also to boost you up and tell you you can totally do this.
I think that's great. I love that. So we were talking about those categories. Now maybe we can talk a little bit about personal contacts that you have. So following the truism, we could probably all say this together, it's not what you know, but who you know. What is your best advice to utilize strategic networking approaches when enlisting assistance from your personal contacts? Juan, looks like you're ready to go.
So many stories. I would say, for instance, I'm in the veteran space, very invested, and I'm part of Veterans on Wall Street, which is a coalition of over 100 financial service firms. And when I wanted to really do something in terms of the veteran space, for one instance, we're working with NASDAQ. They gave us a bell, and part of that is being able to reach out to individuals that, that owns the space, that has authority and willing to make, sort of an exception for you. So part of Veterans on Wall Street, we invited a lot of different firms, mostly, again, banks and other financial service firms, and they come together and, provide recruiting information and their best practices in helping veteran transition. And we wanted to really, signify that we are here and we're not going anywhere. We want to continue to help veterans. So we wanted to really just, bring that to sort of a broader level, right? Media really is the key. And I have a friend, she said, hey, my roommate is, head of NASDAQ. She's really fantastic. You should connect with her. And I reached out, and next thing you know, we have a bell. So, I think people always hesitant, when you make an ask, what are you able to provide in return? Sometimes, when you're looking at relationships and you're looking at these long-term relationships, it's not, sales and trading where you're, just buying and selling like a day trader. These are long-term investments like your 401ks, and that's how most people view them. And when you think about having to build on these relationships for decade, 2 decades, and still stay friends, you have to really acknowledge that and be willing to put that kind of effort towards it. So when that time came, I need to make an ask, and I did. To this day, I still owe her one, and I have a feeling that I'm gonna spend the next few decades, trying to pay it back.
I'm going to defer to Felicia on this one.
I think the biggest tool that I've had is my flexibility, and just knowing that plans change and just roll with it. When I graduated from a smallish school outside of Baltimore, Towson University, I came to New York. It's right. Oh, Tiger Pride. And when I got to New York, I thought I was going to be a sports information director. I did that for a year, but in the first month, I realized this is not what I want to be when I grow up. And here I am, 10 years later, working for a professional hockey team. Never in a million years would have thought that. But in terms of figuring out or how to use your contacts and that sort of thing, I would say be prepared and be flexible. Another good example was 2 weeks ago, one of our assistant GMs asked me to take care of some guests that he invited up to watch practice up at our training facility in Tarrytown. Had no idea who these people were, and just talking and whatever. And at the end, he hands me his card, and it ends up that he was a CFO of Major League Baseball at a time. And I think that's one of the things that you need to keep in mind is you never know who you're talking to. So always be prepared and always be nice. My mom, my mom is from the South, originally from North Carolina. So it's one of those things that I picked up from her, that going to work with her and tagging along with her at those things, she was nice to everyone, from the guy that took out the garbage to the commissioner of the parole commission. So those are things that you need to really keep in mind and keep in your toolbox.
I think that's great. I mean, what Juan was saying about relationships being long-term investments, I think is such an important thing to consider. And as I think about my own relationship with all of you as alumni, I think that all of you are amazing networkers, which is why you're here tonight talking about this, but also about how you don't separate things out. Like, you bring every aspect of your life together, whether it's your education, your family, your job, your personal life, that all of you put those elements together in a really artful and meaningful way. And I find that to be really powerful with the work that each of you do professionally, and it is inspirational for me to see that, to learn from that. I want to transition to a question that I think is really relevant for our student base, and it's probably the last question that I'll ask, and then we'll start the Q&A session, and we'll see how many questions we can get through. So, Felicia, you already told us you're a dinosaur.
Yes.
But how has the growth of the millennial demographic and social media usage diversified the traditional structure of networking? Tell us some tools that you've been able to develop, some strategies that you've implemented in your own social media presence to have successful strategic networking.
I like LinkedIn. That's kind of my default. And just figuring out who knows who and how to navigate that space, and then that helps me build a genuine connection. So we start with LinkedIn, and then we'll move into actual emails and then calls or personal face-to-face meetings. So that's how I've been doing it. Other forms of social media, or my other channels, those are private. Like, those are my places to kind of cut loose and take the mask off. I am not Felicia from the Rangers there. I am just Felicia. So those are the ones that I kind of, like, that's where I draw the line with it. I would say definitely with LinkedIn, I am that person that is looking at the invitation. So you'll see, like, if you send me the request, I will go to your profile and say, okay, well, what's the connection? Why would I want to connect with you? I've found that when you put Madison Square Garden and the New York Rangers on your profile, you get a lot of requests, and I need to funnel through them. You'll also notice that I keep it very, very tight. I'm selective about who I choose to connect with. So if you don't put a note in there that says, why am I reaching out to you? I probably won't accept it. You know, I have a couple that are sitting there that's student from XYZ law school. Like, but why? Are you just collecting, you know, connections, or like, what is the purpose? So I would definitely say be strategic with your outreach and make sure that it's meaningful.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I don't think I utilize social media as much as I could to leverage opportunities, but on the social media apps that I am on, I am selective for the theme quality over quantity.
That's right.
Because back to this joining people in organizations, the people that you have on your LinkedIn, that becomes your brand. The people that you have following you on Facebook or on your Instagram account, that's your brand. So it's who do you want to be known as, who do you want to be around? And I think that the advantage, I don't necessarily think it's only for millennials. Actually, I'll take that back. It's not only for millennials. I think that the technological advancements in social media could help everybody reach the masses. So if you have a message, if you have a blog, if you have something interesting to tell somebody, I mean, this is being broadcasted on Facebook Live. We didn't have that a year and a half ago. So maybe people that couldn't attend, they could actually tune in and kind of gain some insight. So I think that it could help everybody. And if used right, I mean, if used wrong, you could end up down that rabbit hole and you're up till 2 a.m. every night, divulging in things that maybe you shouldn't be doing when you have to wake up for 7 a.m. for class or for work the next day. So I think within reason, if you have a perfect balance of entertainment and professional development, there's a lot to be gained on using these resources.
But you're going to the panel tomorrow, right?
This is
Yeah.
correct. We were talking about it. So I'm taking my own advice, and I'm going to the social media workshops tomorrow at Career Day.
So if you haven't signed up, please do.
Yeah.
So I really believe in the power of social media and leveraging those platforms to build your own brand. I think one of the more difficult things is to really take the time to get to meet with everybody and to keep up abreast with what everybody's doing. When you're part of a network where everybody's changing jobs every so often, or they're doing amazing things, and you want to learn more about it, a little bit of social media stalking would not be a bad thing. I personally use both LinkedIn for professional, and I also use Twitter for sort of, in a way, promoting events that I'm passionate about. But in terms of Facebook, that's where I keep my board of directors, my mentors, my friends and families. You'd be amazed in terms of, seeing things on Facebook where you really get to learn more about the person, because in person, they might not tell you what they believe in, some of their core values, but in social media, people are more, more in tune to just putting it out there. So I personally find that when you meet somebody and you can't connect them via LinkedIn, that's a great way. And when you build that relationship and it's a little bit closer to better understand who they are and what they are, you can use Facebook as well. But I am with Felicia in terms of being old-fashioned, right? Handwritten notes, thank you cards, signing them. Those are the things that really work and make an impression, especially now. Everybody's just on social media reaching out to you. So, maybe the old way of doing it is the best way.
We'll also be careful about what you put up there. Like, we wouldn't be responsible if we didn't share that message with you. We've had student associates where I've simple Google and their Twitter feeds pop up or their Facebook things, and we look through it, and I'm like, hey, have you seen what this person tweeted? You might want to take a look at this one, or reconsider. Maybe we don't want to bring this one in for an interview. So I would definitely say be cautious about what you post, or just lock it down. Like, just keep it to yourself. Like, for instance, I'm not at home. I'm far away from, well, not far, but I'm far enough away from home that I don't always get to see and spend time with my friends. So this is how I take them on this journey with me. I share the experiences that I'm having, or I post things from games and all of that kind of stuff, so that they can see my life and see what's going on, and vice versa. I want to see their kids grow up and know what's going on in their worlds. So I wouldn't always default to social media for networking, because again, I think especially in a professional setting, you have to really know a person before you put your name out there for them and recommend them for something as serious as a job. Like, this is this is real, you know? So I'd maybe start with social, but then foster those professional or those personal one-on-one relationships so that when I walk into a room, I'm able to say, Amanda's great because she can do this, 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 and this, and I've seen her in action. I know that she can handle herself in tough situations and all. Like, you don't get that always from social.
I think it's really important to have in your portfolio. You know, when we look at the School of Professional Studies, as Shaun said, we're live streaming this event tonight. We have very active social media profiles. You've probably seen the signs all around. You'll see some tweets later. Our dean loves tweets. And it's important, but I mean, it's also for us, we want to provide you with as many tools as possible. We want to give you as much information as possible about what's happening at the school, what's important to the school, ways to connect. That's why we launched the Hub earlier this year, so that students and alumni could connect with employers, with each other for mentorship. The school didn't have a digital platform, and we realized that, again, we need to have all of those tools available for you to continue to build your portfolio and presence. Juan, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off with that unabashed plug there.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, keep your privacy filters on.
Keep your words of wisdom. We'll end on that. But, you know, I think it would be helpful for the crowd here before we go into the Q&A, which Diane is going to help us with. What's the takeaway that you can give them before we head into the networking session? What's one thing that they could really try to take from the conversation we had here tonight and start to utilize in this session and hopefully beyond?
Focus on the relationship, not necessarily the position that you're looking for.
That's good.
Yeah, I agree with Felicia. Kind of emphasize with the person. You don't want to scare them away again. So make sure that human first, success after.
That's good.
I would say knowing your brand and being authentic. And lastly, you know, be unique. Think of a great icebreaker, something that, you know, would make you stand out when you're meeting so many people in the, you know, a networking environment, right? Because I think getting to building the relationship is being noticed first. So, you know, that's my tidbit.
That's great. So we have about 15 minutes for Q&A, and so Diane Spazzero, who all of you know from our career management team, and our colleague Kira Stockdale, who helped organize this event, are going to help navigate the crowd. So it'd be very helpful if you could tell us your name and what program you're in, and if you have a specific question for any of the panelists, or if it's just more of a general question. And I'll call on you, so I'll sort of, Kira, do you want to start here with the woman with red hair?
Thank you very much. That was brilliant and very, very helpful. My question, my name is Karen Schroeder. I'm with Sustainability Management, so shout out to Shaun. And I am also pivoting from corporate finance to clean energy finance. One of the problems that I have, and I realize this is a psychological barrier, but any tips that you'd have would be brilliant. When you feel like, when you want to approach someone, but you feel like you're in the position of asking for something without knowing how you can reciprocate. So how do you overcome that internal barrier to going out and asking for something without knowing what it is that you, as you know, a job seeker or someone who's not in that field and has initially very little to offer, can give back?
I'll take that one. Thank you for the shout out. That's a great question, and I struggle with that as well. But one thing that I did learn is you can leverage Columbia University to ask questions. There's one time I was on the student board, very involved while I was a student here. And we had gone to an event hosted by The Atlantic, the magazine, and Atlantic Live. And at the time, we were planning a symposium that we had to organize. It was yearly. It's the big boom for the Sustainability Management Program hosted by students. And we watched Steve Clemens, who's the editor-at-large at The Atlantic, masterfully run a panel. And then he ran another one, and we were blown away. And I went to my board, because we were all there. I said, we need this guy for this symposium. So they're like, well, what are we going to do? I was like, we're going to approach him. And they're like, okay, Shaun, you're the president. You go get him. So they all left me behind. But at the time, what I did is I didn't blow it like I did with the other person. I went up to him and I explained my situation. I said, hello, my name is Shaun Hoyte. I'm a student at Columbia University, and we're planning a symposium that was focused on XYZ. And he goes, well, when is it? Here's my card, shoot me an email. I'm thinking maybe he's blowing me off, maybe he's not. So I get to my office, I took half a day, so I get to my office and I shoot him an email right away. And within about 30 minutes, he had a response. He said, as luck may have it, I'm free that day and I'm available, lock me in. And I was like, whoa. I was ready to take the rest of the day off. So I took a break. I sent an email to my boy. I said, we got Steve Clemens. This is amazing. And he showed up the day of the symposium, and he did a phenomenal job. So I think just having the confidence to know what you want and leveraging Columbia University as that stepping stone. I mean, to speak at Columbia University is a big deal. So people would be honored for you to ask them that. But if that's not your ask, then just explain, listen, I'm in a career transition. I'm not looking for a job, but I'm looking for some insight. I was going to recommend this to all of you later tonight anyway. I'm not friends with the guy, but there's this book, Never Eat Alone, or Never Have Lunch Alone. And I highly recommend reading it or getting the audio. It's about inviting people to kind of have insight over lunch or to coffee or anything. And you'll get rejected and you won't get rejected, and you'll build relationships and learn so much from those experiences. But just have the confidence to just go up to the person and ask them.
And then also, Karen, you may not be able to do it right now, but if you hold on to that relationship and you build it, you can do something later. So, and I think people also understand that if they understand what you're doing and why you're reaching out, they know that you may not be able to reciprocate in a week or 2 or a year, but they know that if they foster this relationship and they see something in you, that it's coming and they don't mind.
That's great. Diane, do you want to go to this gentleman here?
Hello, my name is Tyler. I'm with the sports management program.
Ooh, hey, Tyler.
My question's for you, Alicia.
Okay.
I caught you saying how you never thought that you would end up working in hockey, and I wanted to get your advice for us graduate students in terms of that idea of flexibility and how do we prepare ourselves to, we all know what kind of industry we want to work in, but we don't know specifically what that's going to mean. So can you speak to flexibility in terms of how we can prepare for that?
Yeah. I would say apply for things that sound completely crazy or you're kind of on the fringe, yeah, I could do that. Also things that you're interested in, because to be completely honest, sports is a tough gig, especially when you're first starting out. I mean, even now, I'm in middle management and it's still, it's a grind. I mean, you have to really like what you're doing because you're going to put in hours, and you have to like who you're doing it with because you're going to be hanging around with them for a very long time. But yeah, just be flexible. I've done so many random things that were awesome and got me into different things. For instance, when I was at the business school, so I transitioned to a Monday through Friday 9-to-5 job. Not cut out for that at all, especially as a sports person. I lasted for about 3 months, and I started looking for a side hustle, which, did you take Squire's event management class? We'll take Squire's event management class. It's the best. So we had, he worked at MetLife and a bunch of other awesome places. And I missed the tour for MetLife Stadium, so I went out and met with the guest services people and talked my way into a part-time job, which I thought was just going to be a non-paid thing. But before I walked out of the informational, I had an application to fill out, and they're like, yeah, whatever, it's your job. So I ended up being a concierge, and I was in one of our premium spaces. I worked Jets, Giants games, Major Leagues, or international soccer, which I can't tell you how cool it is to hear "Where Are the Painted Girls? It's Starting to Rain" to come over the radio. I've worked concerts and WrestleMania and the Super Bowl, which out of those 2 events, WrestleMania has probably been the coolest event that I've ever worked. So I would just say be flexible, do anything, and also know that you're not going to get paid a whole lot, but we don't do this for the money. We do it for the love. We do it because we love sports. There's a Nelson Mandela quote that basically says that sports is the great equalizer, and that's why we do this. So don't look at the salary. I mean, you have to be responsible, but just know going in that you're not going to get paid a whole lot. You're going to work a whole lot, but it's totally rewarding, and just be open to whatever comes down and say, I could kind of do that. Cool. All right, I'm in. Yeah.
Building skill sets, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Let's see. Did I see another hand? Oh, towards the back. I think there's a gentleman in the back that you're nearby, Diane.
Question? You're being shy.
Oh, I think his name is Gary.
Called out.
Thanks so much, Amanda.
I told you. I gave you the heads up.
I don't know, one of your panelists suggested that we tap into, well, this is my assessment, not just SPS, but the whole Columbia University. And how do you go about doing that when we're segregated in our events, pretty much?
Can I take
Yeah,
this one?
Juan, go for it. Thanks, Gary.
So as I mentioned earlier, that Columbia really changed my life. I started an organization specifically for women veterans and military families. That's the name. And my co-founders are actually one from Teachers College, who is an Army vet, and the other one is also from Columbia, and she went to SEPA, another Army vet. So I think if you find really just, people that shares your vision, shares your ideas, specifically your core values, and understand what you're trying to do and what you're willing to build, and you're able to articulate that, Columbia is a fantastic environment. It's sort of like this incubator where the smartest and brightest are here. And I mean, look at all of you. I'm sure you all have accomplished some amazing things to be here. And with that said, being able to really go to some of these organizational events. If you're a student, there are many student clubs. If you're more advanced and you don't have the time because you're working full time, you don't come here in the evenings. Come to some of these alumni events that Amanda's been hosting. I mean, they're fantastic. You get to meet amazing faculty members, alums, and other students who share your passion and share your ideas. So that's my suggestion.
And just to add to that, luckily for me, sustainability transcends across all practices. So I would just crash the law groups parties. Or what we did is we joined flag football, where we played it with across Columbia University. There was a lot of stuff like that. We did the basketball as well. We invited different programs to play volleyball with us. We reached out to all the environmental programs. Some were in the law school again, in the MBA school. So just getting out there and making people uncomfortable, letting them know that climate change is real and play a part in it. And then they start to listen. Oftentimes, the people say, well, how do you network? I stopped going to sustainability events, and I started going to other events where the industries weren't really well-versed in sustainability. And I started just injecting my tree-hugging knowledge into them. And it kind of worked out well.
And also, SPS is where the cool kids go. So we have a different experience.
Yeah.
During my graduation, or is it class day? When we
Graduation.
Yeah. Well, that thingy. Our speaker said that SPS, back then we were School of Continuing Ed, was where the real world met education. So we have these deep experiences before we come to school. And I would leverage that, your network, and you already know stuff. You already know people. So, hit up the B school. Like, yeah, they may have, as a worker from the B school, they have the budget, so let them host the event. But you go and help out, or, you help reach out to speakers. You know people. Tyler, in the sports program, like, we have awesome speakers come to our stuff. Like Neil Pilson, which take Neil's class. Neil brings in amazing speakers. So if you can leverage that with the other schools and just like our network and our deep, vast knowledge of things like that, that makes you an asset and people want to hang out. Plus, again, SPS is where the cool kids are.
Yeah, Andrew Hawkins just graduated from
Yeah.
SCS, right? It was very cool.
I have to say there, Gary, there's so many activities across campus. Sometimes it's overwhelming about what's available to students and alumni from the School of Professional Studies and what's meaningful to participate in. And so there are shared interest groups when you graduate that go across these interest areas as opposed to regional groups. And I think that aligns really well with what Juan is saying about knowing what you're passionate about and meeting people who are also passionate about those things. I would definitely suggest taking a part of those when you graduate. Happy to talk to you more as well about other types of activities and anybody here. But I do want to talk about an event that we did last year with President Bollinger, where he invited our alumni leaders across Columbia and the trustees, and it was in his fancy house on campus, which is like right here in the secret garden, and nobody knew who SPS was. And so we had these amazing ambassadors talking about the school, and we had like a cult following. I mean, we had trustees, we had Board of Overseers members. They wanted to be around us. They wanted to talk about this area of expertise that our alumni had. We totally like cornered President Bollinger, and we're like, SPS is here, you know, and the command's like, great. But I mean, those types of things are really impactful to see people want to learn more about what we're doing. They want to engage with our students and alumni and more. They are excited about what we're doing here, and we couldn't do it without our students, without our alumni, without the broader community. It's something that's really exciting that we're a part of. So thank you for being a part of this tonight. We hope that it was helpful. And thank you to our amazing panelists tonight. I don't know if there's like one great question, if somebody's confident that it's like the best question ever. We'll take that. Otherwise, we can, you know, get to networking and start utilizing some of these great things we've learned here this evening. I love ending things without claps.